We are now over 2 weeks into February, so I think it has been long enough to warrant me making this video, which is going to be about dry January. Just for some context here, I'm 24, I live and grew up in the United States, and pretty much from high school, college through now, which is like post-college, I would say a pretty big portion of social events and things that we do together as a friend group center around drinking. This is pretty much just to say that, my drinking habits were pretty much regularly drinking on weekends and then maybe once during the week casually. Of course, this varies. So like during college, it was pretty popular to go out on Thursdays as well as Saturdays. So that has since changed, but generally pretty consistently with weekends. And I would say I never considered myself to have a drinking problem or anything, considering how ubiquitous it is in multiple societies, not just here in the US. So I was definitely pretty interested with the idea of dry January just because it's pretty interesting and I kind of find myself getting drawn to these fads or like challenges often. But this one actually was particularly interesting, especially since I feel like the last 2 years the hangovers have been getting worse and worse, and I had a horrible hangover on New Year's Day. So New Year's Eve was super fun, but New Year's Day was pretty brutal, almost an all-day hangover, and I was contemplating doing dry January going into it, and then January 1st was enough of a hangover that I was like, I'm definitely gonna do this dry January just to like reset, and over the holidays people tend to drink a lot as well. Since I didn't really plan on doing dry January, I just started on January 1st, I definitely didn't have too much of a scientific background on the health benefits. It was mostly just because of personal experiences. I've had a couple like less than ideal situations that I've found myself in, I guess, because of drinking, and then, the hangover itself. But I was pretty excited to learn more. So within the first week, I listened to the Huberman Lab podcast on alcohol. So if you're not aware, Huberman is this guy or I should say this professor. He might be a doctor, I don't know. But he's this guy that has a podcast about health and like how to make yourself feel as good as possible. And he talks about the science behind various things regarding health. And the alcohol episode was like mind blowing. Pretty much after listening to that podcast, I had enough motivation to make myself say that I really want to do dry January as opposed to just drinking less in January or maybe only having like a couple beers in January, because he talks about the plasticity of the brain and the various detriments to your health that it does. I'm not going to try since he's a professional, but yeah, it was enough to make me want to do dry January. In my experience, it started off really difficult, and then by the end, I definitely was not itching to start drinking again, which I kind of thought I would be. But by the end, you really find yourself just like pretty happy to not drink, and I'm still in that phase. So I'm wondering if this will just be a for everything. I guess the term for it is like sober curious. But just to summarize, the first weekend, a bunch of my buddies from college were meeting up in the mountains for like a mountain weekend reunion type thing. And naturally, there were a lot of drinking games being played. So it definitely sucked because there's a true element of camaraderie with drinking games. And yeah, that aspect was pretty rough. But the second weekend and third weekend, and definitely by the fourth weekend, you definitely get used to being in social settings without feeling left out, and you're pretty used to just hanging out while everyone else is drinking and you're not drinking. And it definitely helped that my girlfriend and her friends were also doing dry January, so going out to bars with them and just getting like mocktails became more regular. I actually, kind of don't like the idea of mocktails. I'd rather just get a soda just because mocktails are kind of expensive, whereas sodas are like $2. And another big factor for doing dry January is you save so much money. For example, here in Atlanta, if you're going clubbing or to a going out bar, it'll be like a $20 cover. And of course, because public transit here kind of sucks, Uber, another $15, I would say. And then you're paying like $10 a drink. It's very expensive and it adds up for sure. when doing dry January, I was pretty cheap. Like I wasn't getting mocktails, I was just getting like sodas. So I did drink more soda than normal, but overall the health benefits have felt way better. Just being able to like get up the next day only being tired and not hungover and tired has been game changing, and I've been super busy with work and school, so I think doing dry January has helped my mood for sure, sleep, cognitive ability, and at least the ability to do work on weekends before 10 a.m., which was non-existent before. And I guess the lasting effects are definitely just the relationship with alcohol. So I'm like way more comfortable now not drinking when going out. I mean, I still want to drink when I'm going out just because it's pretty much a societal norm, but to be binge drinking and like how it makes you feel long term, I'm not too into that as much. It'll be really interesting, I guess, just to see how this changes over time, because right now I'm at the point where drinking casually is still like something I'll do for events or like someone's birthday or something. But if I'm just watching sports, I don't really feel as strong of a desire to be drinking beers or getting a buzz just for, weekday or really like just normal weekends. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. It's been really interesting just because I never really thought I would be in this state of mind, because I've always enjoyed drinking. So I just kind of wanted to make a video about it because I found it to be super interesting. And I'm still surprised that right now I don't really feel a desire to drink that much on weekends. So I'm curious if this will last. We'll see. Either way, it's been a really fun January, just proving to myself that I'm still in control and can be social without drinking. And yeah, the key will be just to see what happens going forward.